I had to start over because of you know who was starving to death. And somebody asked me something. My glasses are not crooked. It's just that this lens is, I'm like blind. This lens is so much thicker than the other one. This one is so much thicker than the other one. And they're bifocals, but I don't have the line. But that's what makes it look like my glasses are crooked, but they're really not crooked. Like I said, no laser surgery, no, maybe contacts, maybe I'm thinking maybe because I think, but no laser stuff. And like I said before, these are going to be some of the last videos on Autumn because I really got to let it go. I have to start on the new book. Um, One of the mistakes I had caught when I went back over it this time, you know, like I drill over and over and over again to give yourself some time between when you what you write and when you go back and edit. Give yourself as much time as you possibly can. Um, I forgot to write about my character's little boy's birthday. And what mom would forget her son's birthday. Um, because they want to have it. What was important about that was that they wanted to have it in this certain park. And of course, all the people who are anybody wants to be invited to this birthday party, the little boy's birthday party, to be there, to be seen, to have their children there for their children to be seen. Um, but the park itself is restricted. So the black guests, and of course my character and their little boy is half. So um, my male character has to get a special permit so that they can be allowed to, and the girl there that they brought back from the their quote unquote ward, the store owner back in Missouri. His daughter is with them, and she's acting as their she's their ward, and she can't go, and all this crazy stuff. So he ends up pulling a few strings, and they get a chance to go to to actually attend the birthday party in this park because the park is restricted. And I thought that I really hadn't put a lot of that in there, giving the impression that she was, that free to just run wild and do whatever she wants all over the city. Yes, she can shop wherever she wants, she can spend money wherever she wants, but she isn't, there's still restrictions on them, on her, things she can and cannot do. Let me see. I put rain. I put how smart people are in the Northwest. I put that I made a change of heart about writing that um, her lover from Georgia asking her to run away with him, that he wouldn't have done that. I talked about that. I'm trying to remember all the stuff. And everybody, what I'm looking at, I am looking at actually my I have a notebook here. I don't know if you guys can see my handwriting. That I have a notebook, and then as I go through subjects, I cross them out. Um, oh, and something else about New Orleans. When she goes to tea with to her lovers in New Orleans, the guy from Georgia is in New Orleans, and he has two great aunts there, and that's the reason he is there, because one of the great aunts died, and he's there, uh, to settle her estate. That's why he's actually there. He One of the women, they're like anti-slavery. These two young ladies, they're not young ladies, they're like old maids like me, but I like being an old maid. um and they're anti-slave, and they say something to her like, well, now that you have your man's influence and money behind you, you should do you're free. We're glad you're free. But what, and they remind her of her duty to other black people. And she hadn't really, um, with one thing in Missouri, the store owner is black and his kids go to school and that kind of thing. And, back home on the plantation, the in the pecking order of things, she's high up in the pecking order, and this is just something she was very she wasn't very conscious of, the things that, I mean, her life was way different from, a female slave, say, on a breeding farm, which her plantation where she lived wasn't. But they did have specifically breeding farms, where just how it sounds, just to make more slaves, make more people, make more inventory. Um, and in Missouri, the Indian couple lives there with them on the farm. The Irish people couple lives there with them on the farm. It's this kind of thing goes on. So she doesn't really, her women's league is made up of, herself and the store owner's, wife, and the women from the farm and the woman that owns the boarding house. So she doesn't really have to deal with that, but she does in a way when the arch villain gets there and she has to deal with him. Then she's very gets very class conscious. The same thing as when she's back on the plantation and she marries the slave that she marries um to make her lover jealous while he's in New Orleans um on his honeymoon, quote unquote. uh she thinks in terms that, just like her white master and mistress, basically, that he's just a slave. I'll make sure he has food and a place to stay, and he can leave me alone, and she has no intentions whatsoever of living as man and wife with him. um like I said before, when her lover goes to Baltimore to school, she the master and the mistress kind of want her to, kind of nest in and give her a home and this kind of stuff. But she still wants to wait for him, even though she knows that they can't marry. Like she would like them to be married. Where was I going? Oh, and while she's in New Orleans, she is reminded of what that she really hasn't done anything as far as civil rights. I don't think they called them civil rights. I called it something else. I can't remember. I looked up the word because I thought civil rights sounded too modern. So I looked up another word and I can't remember the word that I used. Oh, and that's something else I had to be always be conscious of, words not sounding too modern, because that takes a person out of the story when all of a sudden you go, okay, like, so she would never say, oh, you know, that's not a hot idea, anything like that. You have to be really careful of that kind of thing. And so I have one of these ladies say, that to her, that you make sure that you help, other people. And then at the Christmas, she has a really big Christmas gala, one of those all day things. And um she's talking to one of the other women that she's met, this group that she and her man have kind of ingratiated themselves into. I'm thinking that maybe this was like a cohesive group before, and then he maybe met one of the men at the club. Like I said, that's one of the things where you leave, so your reader has to use their imagination how they actually meet, what's actually going on. And she says to one of the other women, she says, um, do you ever think, meaning wealthy, well-to-do people of color? She says free people of color. She says, do you think we do enough? And the other woman's like, of course you do a lot. You do a lot of charity here. You've done this. With the colored orphanage, and you've done organized tag sales and cake walks and things like that. You got class of 2114. You will have to look up. But she says, but I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything as far as rights are concerned. I haven't done anything to free, some of the slaves. And the other woman also reminds her, yeah, you know what, but even though you do have a rich man and one with a lot of status in the community, whites still don't like that kind of thing. So you still be careful because he can only protect you just so far. Um, and so that was a couple of things that I wanted to bring out. Also, something else that I want to go into New Orleans, her lifestyle and stuff there. Um, but I want to wait because that's going to take like a whole that's going to take a whole video, but then maybe not. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll because I know yesterday I did this. I This is actually um remember I told you that I print stuff out. I'm a tree hugger, yes, but I also print out my work. I have to look at it. And this is the page where where that I work from, and then you can tell on the other side there's two absolutely different things because this is you know, I use both sides of the paper. And up here if you can see, I know you can't see, but the very first part is her journal entries, and her journal entries are always in italics for the simple reason that you want to stop the reader and let them know this is something different. This is something different, that you're reading now. So that's why I do it, by making it into italics. And then you can see over here that why did I initial this? I don't know. Maybe I think I'm famous already. But which I am. I have notes, and I have 529, which is probably when I went back through it. And then you can see I am the sticky note queen. I have a sticky note everywhere. And then also, let me find a page where you actually can see some of my notations. So just to go to show you, and that this is not even, this is, I hope you guys can see that. I want to get one of those things where you can actually work and someone can see you. But I think from there, you kind of can see um, where I've scratched things out, moved things around, edited with my pencil. I have to use pencil. Can't use pen for some reason. I don't know. I just have these things. Um, and you can see where I've scratched out. And this is not even. This is like the um, one of the like maybe the fifth or sixth time. By the time I print it out, I've gone over it 5, 6, 7 times. So, and like I said again, this is let's see, one, two, three, about 10 pages, about 10 pages. And like I've said a million times before, I work with little chunks because you can go over 10 pages, you know, 15, 20 times if you want to. But, you can't go over 100 pages that long. I think, well, it's just me. I can't concentrate that long. So, that's what some of the actual printed work, all this stuff belongs to my son and my grandkids. And so class of 2114, 2115, there might be some of these, more, floating around the country somewhere. I'm sure it'll be one day worth a lot. Um, Let me see, what else can I go into? For some, I wrote vitamin D. I don't know what the devil that means. Um, but that I do take vitamin D. And the other day, when I was coming back from the interview, actually, I remember that I talked about this. I met a teacher that had just moved up here from Florida, and he was very impressed with the kids that were commuting with us, and he was asking them, a lot of questions about, and then he was asking me about the different curriculums in the different schools, and he also was asking me about the different school districts, and stuff like that. And of course, since I've lived here, 20 some years, I was, able to clue him in and on some of them. Um, I told him that I thought he is very much needed on the reservation. because the reservations here have their own schools, their own school system. Um, and I thought he would do a lot of good there. Actually, I was really surprised because he told me um, that he was going to make quite a bit more money teaching here than he did in Florida. But then again, that is the South, so I don't know. And my father was a teacher, and we talked about that, how my dad couldn't just teach anywhere. Most of the time, he would be working one place and we'd be living another, in order for him to work. I remember one of my memories, I remember me and my sister on Sunday night walking him to the bus station, because he'd come Friday night, after he got off work, and he'd go back Sunday, evening, Sunday evening. And I remember my sister and I walking him to the bus stop Sunday evening so he could, get back. It was only like 4 hours from where we lived back to Washington, D.C., but still, he was because he didn't have any choice. Um, Back in that day, the a black teacher actually had to die. That was before schools got desegregated. A black teacher literally, and I mean I'm not exaggerating, had to die in order for another black teacher to have a spot, in the school system. I actually was taught by teachers who had taught my father, sitting in the same chair I'd been sitting in. So that's how ridiculous it was. When finally, I don't want to misstate, but I believe, and it was 69 when they finally desegregated the schools, only, this was Virginia, only because they were getting ready to lose that federal money. That's what was getting ready to happen. They tried as hard as they could and as long as they could. So, I know kind of know what I'm talking about. I kind of know what I'm talking about when I talk about some of the issues that my character and stuff has, and going back to um, the fact that she hadn't really, in her mind, she hadn't really done anything to help, to free anyone or to get any rights for for other free people of color like her, because it really hasn't been an incident. I think I took it out. The two women are talking, and she says something like, I could have been, with so and so's money, her man's money. Um, I could have set people free. I could have done this, and she says instead, I am sitting in dress shops, picking out patterns, and things like that. That she really hasn't given. She hasn't given um, her duty, any um, I don't know what to say. Attention, I guess. That's not the word I'm looking for, but that's the word I'm going to use right now. Tell her, because when you get older, you forget the words you want, and then later it gives it. But she feels that she hasn't really. She has this guilty feeling that she hasn't really done with the resources that she has. She really hasn't done as much as she could as far as civil rights and stuff are concerned. And I don't know what to do with that, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when they go to England, if I have to write that part, I believe at that time England was England abolished slavery before America did. So I'm thinking along the lines, maybe she writes when she gets over there, or uh, I don't know what she could do over there, but I'll figure out something. So let's see. Okay, well, it's time for a little break, and it's time for a maybe a costume change. And I will come back and discuss a little bit of stuff. What I want to discuss is her life in New Orleans, how it's different from her life in Georgia and in Missouri. So I will do that.